The galaxy learned the hard way not to mess with human children the day we reduced a dozen urine worlds to molten slag. I stared at the holographic image in my hand, my vision blurred with tears of rage and grief. My son Tommy, forever frozen at 8 years old, smiled back at me. 10 years ago, those urine bastards snatched him away, stealing a helpless child to twist our arm over some worthless space rocks. We gave them what they wanted, abandoned our claim, and pulled back our ships, yet they still didn't return Tommy. Instead, they sent us a video. I watched in horror as their so-called scientists cut into my baby boy. His screams ripped my soul apart as they dissected him like a frog in a biology class. He cried out for me, begged me to save him, until his little body couldn't take it anymore. I demanded the urine hand over my son's body and the butcher responsible, but the Galactic Council just shrugged, claiming the strategic value of the urines mattered more than human lives. They shielded child torturers because the urine had shiny plasma guns and fancy shields. But not for long. The urines had sown the wind, and humanity was ready to bring the whirlwind. For every drop of my son's blood spilled, we'd take an ocean of theirs. The galaxy was about to learn a simple truth: you don't mess with human children, unless you're ready to face the most dangerous species in the universe. For Tommy, for every murdered human child, we were going to burn the urine and their enablers to ash. Humanity was rising, a united force of rage and vengeance, and the galaxy was about to feel our wrath. No matter how many worlds we had to glass, how many fleets we had to crush, I would have justice for my son. We all would. The Galactic Council should have protected Tommy. Now I was coming to make them pay. The UNSC retribution streaked through the void, a predator on the hunt. Its sleek black hull absorbed the starlight, rendering it almost invisible against the backdrop of space. The ship's mission: make the urine pay for every drop of human blood they'd spilled, for every innocent child they'd butchered in the name of their twisted science. Captain Douglas gripped the arms of his command chair, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen. Arcturus Prime loomed before them, a deceptively tranquil blue-green orb. But Douglas knew the truth, knew the horrors lurking beneath that placid surface. The same horrors that had stolen his son, tortured him, killed him. He stood, the eyes of his crew upon him, men and women united by a shared purpose, a shared thirst for vengeance. "You all know our official orders," he began, his voice hard as steel. "Recon only. Observe and report." His lips curled into a humorless smile. "But I think we can all agree that's not going to happen." A few nods, a murmur of assent. Douglas pressed on. "The truth is, we're not here to watch. We're here to make them pay, to burn their cities to glass, their planet to ash. To send a message to the galaxy that humanity will no longer tolerate the slaughter of our children." The murmurs grew louder, a rising tide of anger. But not everyone looked convinced. Douglas saw the hesitation in some eyes, the uncertainty. He couldn't blame them. What he was proposing went against every regulation in the book. But those regulations hadn't saved Tommy. Hadn't saved countless other human children stolen by the urines for their sick experiments. "I know some of you have doubts," he said, softening his tone. "And I understand. What we're about to do isn't easy. But think of the children, not just my son, but all the others torn from their families, tortured, murdered, while the Galactic Council stood by and did nothing." His voice cracked, raw emotion bleeding through. "We have to send a message. We have to show them that humanity will no longer be victims, that we will fight for our children, no matter the cost." The atmosphere on the bridge shifted, as if a current of electricity had passed through the crew. He saw it in their eyes, the determination, the righteous fury. They were with him. "Prepare for orbital bombardment," Douglas ordered, retaking his seat. "And run full scans of the planet and surrounding space. Something doesn't feel right." The bridge erupted into activity as the crew rushed to carry out his commands. Why was Arcturus Prime so undefended? Where was the urine fleet? The questions gnawed at him, even as anticipation built in his gut. Soon he would have his revenge. Soon the urines would learn the price of spilling human blood. But first, he had to make sure they weren't flying into a trap, had to ensure that the UNSC retribution would be the instrument of humanity's vengeance, not another casualty of urine cruelty. A chill ran down Douglas's spine as the scan results flashed across the view screen. "What the hell?" he muttered, leaning forward in his chair. The readout showed a sprawling network of underground chambers, each one packed with thousands upon thousands of pulsating urine eggs. The entire planet had been transformed into a colossal breeding facility. "That explains the lack of defenses," Commander Ivanova said, her face grim. "They think the Council's protection makes them untouchable." Douglas nodded, his mind racing. This was an opportunity, a chance to strike a devastating blow against the Uran. But not everyone agreed. "Sir, if we destroy those eggs," Lieutenant Chen's voice was hesitant, "won't that make us no better than them?" The bridge erupted into a cacophony of arguments. Some sided with Chen, insisting that they had to be better than the enemy. Others, their voices sharp with fury, demanded retribution at any cost. Douglas slammed his fist on the armrest, silencing the debate. "Those eggs will hatch into more monsters like the ones who tortured my son, who've tortured countless human children. We have a chance to stop that, to make sure no more families suffer like mine has." He met Chen's eyes, his gaze unflinching. "We're not doing this for revenge, we're doing it to protect our people, our children." Before anyone could respond, a proximity alert blared through the bridge. Sir Uran's ship emerging from the planet's shadow, Ensign Liu called out. The view screen flickered, and a chittering voice filled the air. "Captain Douglas, I've been expecting you." Douglas's blood ran cold. He knew that voice, had heard it in his nightmares mingled with Tommy's screams. "Sirius," he growled. The Uran scientist's insectoid face leered at him from the screen. "You humans are so predictable, so emotional." Sirius clacked his mandibles in a grotesque approximation of a laugh. "Your son provided valuable data, you know. His suffering advanced our understanding of your species' physiology immensely." Red tinged the edges of Douglas's vision. His fingernails dug into his palms, drawing blood. "You monster." "Monster?" "No, Captain. I am a scientist. And your species' weakness has been most enlightening." Sirius's compound eyes glittered with malice. "You could have struck at us long ago, but you lacked the courage, the resolve. And now, it is too late." Douglas surged to his feet, his rage a living, breathing thing. "Shut off that transmission," he snarled. The screen went dark, but Sirius's mocking laughter still echoed in his ears. He turned to his crew, his expression carved from granite. "Prepare for orbital bombardment. We end this now." No one argued, no one hesitated. They moved as one, united in their determination to bring justice to the monsters who had stolen their children and shattered their lives. The UNSC Retribution's weapons powered up with an ominous hum, targeting the breeding facility below. Douglas's finger hovered over the firing button, his whole body trembling with barely contained rage. For Tommy. For every child the Uran had tortured and killed, for every family shattered by their cruelty. He would turn their planet to glass and ash, would burn every last one of their abominations from the stars. His finger descended, and the view screen erupted into searing light as the first salvo struck home. Nuclear fire consumed the Uran breeding facility, the planet's surface buckling and cracking under the onslaught. Billions of eggs boiled away in an instant. The Uran's twisted plans turned to ash. But there was no time to savor the victory. Sirius's ship opened fire, lancing beams of plasma slamming into the Retribution's shields. The bridge shook, sparks cascading from overloaded consoles. "Return fire." Douglas roared. "Sink that bastard ship." The Retribution's cannons thundered in response, a relentless barrage that tore through the Uran vessel's defenses like tissue paper. Explosions rippled across its hull, atmosphere venting from gaping wounds. Douglas turned to the Marine commander, his eyes hard. "Prepare a boarding party. I want Sirius alive." The commander nodded grimly. "With pleasure, sir." Minutes later, Douglas led the Marines through the smoking ruins of the Uran ship, the acrid stench of burned insectoid flesh thick in the air. Plasma fire zipped past their heads as the remaining crew fought with the desperate ferocity of the doomed. But the humans were relentless, driven by a righteous fury that no force could withstand. They cut through the Uran like a plasma torch through steel, leaving a trail of shattered carapaces in their wake.